All right, now we are recording. If you can go to the next slide for us, please. We want to just take a second to introduce you to our teams. I'm Jessica Strong. I'm the very proud principal of Girls Prep Lower East Side Middle School. And I am so appreciative that you joined us tonight. I'm really glad to see everyone. If the rest of the leadership team could just come off mute in the order that you are on the slide, and just take a second to introduce yourselves or reintroduce yourselves.
Hi, everybody. I am Alex Cardesis. I'm the Academic Director of Humanities. I work really closely with the ELA teachers and the history teachers, and I'm excited to be here tonight.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Golio, and I'm the Academic Director of STEM. I'm super excited to be here. I have the opportunity to work with our math and science teachers and, of course, our students.
Hello, everyone. I'm Serena Ruiz, the Director of Operations. You may know my main office staff, Aisha Denolis and Tresaline Delva. We are here to make sure our building and not only our building is running, but also our students have everything they need, and our teachers have everything they need, and our families have everything they need. So my team is the team you can reach out to when you need any kind of support and help.
And I am Ms. Lopez. I am your Director of Student and Family Affairs this year. I am currently commuting home. Quarantine just makes you buy bikes and rollerblades and all the cool things. But I'll be on in 5 minutes permanently. Hi, everybody.
Awesome. And before we get to our grade team leaders, I think I saw Ms. Stoller on the call. Ms. Stoller is our Assistant Director of Student Support Services for both the elementary and middle schools. Ms. Stoller, are you on here, and can you come on to introduce yourself to families?
Yes, I am here. I was about to say good morning, families. So for those the teachers are today, good afternoon. So excited to be here and so excited to start working with all of our students again and to ensure our services are happening. I'm sure if your child has an IEP and you're super concerned about it, but I promise information will be forthcoming over the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thanks, Ms. Stoller. We're really lucky to split her across the elementary school because while it's a huge feat for her, it means that our students moving from our elementary to our middle school have seamless support and someone that knows everything that's happened from kindergarten on, which is really special and great. Let's go to the next slide, please, Ms. Ruiz. We also have our grade level team leaders on the call today. If we could start in 5th grade with our GLT leaders introducing themselves. Take it away, Ms. Colgan.
Hi, I'm Ms. Colgan, 5th grade history, 5th grade team lead. If your student is in 6th or 7th grade, I've probably already taught them as well. I'm really excited to see everyone again. I see so many faces that I recognize. I'm really excited to meet those new ones.
Good afternoon. My name is Mr. Marr, 6th grade ELA and 6th grade GLT leader. Seems pretty crazy to see some kids in here that I had in 5th grade and now are little 8th graders going on to high school soon. And I'm really excited to meet all the new 6th graders.
Hi, my name is Emily Walker. I'm the 7th grade GLT leader, and I also teach 7th grade ELA. That does not quite roll off the tongue for me yet, but I'm really excited to step into that role. This is my 2nd year being 7th grade GLT leader, and really excited. It's going to be an awesome year.
Hi, I'm Ms. McCalla, the Director of High School Admissions. My 7th year at Girls Prep. I see some of my 8th graders, some of my 7th graders. I'm super, super excited for the school year, and I can't wait to work with you all.
Awesome. And I think that because our staff is so incredibly committed and amazing that there are also some teachers and other staff members on the call. If you are on the call and you work at Girls Prep Lower East Side Middle, if you could just come off mute and introduce yourself and say hi, that'd be great.
Hey everyone, I can say hi. I'm Emily George, a school social worker. I know many of you, and again was with Mr. Marr in that first class he ever was advisor of. And it's my 10th year at Girls Prep. I work with the kids in a number of ways, and I know that there's a lot of feelings about this year, and just know that we are going to take them head on, and we will all be here to support one another. I'm excited for this year.
Hey there,
Hi, everyone. Oh, go for it, Ben.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Hi, my name is Ben Jorian. I'm the 6th grade ELA teacher with Mr. Marr, and I am the ELA department chair as well.
Hi, all. My name is Tiffany Galloway. This is my 2nd year at Girls Prep, 5th grade ELA. Super excited for this year as well.
My name is Joseph Melendez, 7th grade history. I know some of the 6th graders already. I was a 6th grader, the new 7th graders. I was 6th grade advisor last year, so super excited to see the new 7th graders and some of the old faces.
Hi, I'm Caroline Tomazatos, 8th grade ELA. This is my 2nd year at Girls Prep, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you and your scholars.
Hi, my name is Stephanie O'Daniel. I am 7th grade ELA teacher with Miss Walker, and I just want to say hi to those 8th graders I see there. I wish we could have ended better. And just a chance to say congratulations moving forward, and I'm looking forward to seeing the new 7th graders this year.
Awesome. If I missed anyone, I apologize. But we're going to move forward. I'm so excited to have all of these teachers here. This just, again, speaks to their commitment to the girls and to this community. So thank you so much for being here after a very long day of professional learning, because you all have been working extremely hard to get ready for this. So we're about to move into breakout groups. And in those breakout groups, they're going to be somewhat random so that you get to meet families that may not necessarily be in the same grade as your scholar. There will also be teachers and staff members spread out throughout the breakout rooms as well. We are going to just take a couple minutes to start by introducing ourselves, the name and the grade of your scholar. You just got to hear who all of our staff members are, so we'd like to start by having you introduce yourself, and then just sharing what your hopes are for this school year, what's a fear you have coming into the school year, and then what is one thing that you want your scholars' teachers to know about her as they get ready to start building those relationships next week. That could be something about their learning style that you want to make sure teachers know. It might also be something about the way scholars are feeling about coming back into the building. You know your scholars best. We learn from you. You're our greatest partners. So in just a moment, you are going to be swooped into a breakout room. And Miss Ruiz, we're going to take about, if we could do groups of about 6 or 7, we're going to take about 8 minutes in our breakout groups. Holy moly, this is amazing. We've got 100 participants. Excited.
All right, I have rooms ready. Teachers and other staff members, I might pull you just to make sure we have someone in every single room, but I'm gonna send everyone out now. Don't worry if you get kicked out, just come right back in and I'll put you in a room. So don't worry about that. Everyone get ready and enjoy.
Hi, everyone. So good to see some familiar faces and some familiar names. Yolanda, good to see you. The fact that Kaylin's in 8th grade is killing me right now. I don't know how we got here, but it's exciting.
Yes, I know. It's I'm nervous and anxious all in one.
Absolutely, absolutely. If we just want to start by, if you all just want to come off mute and introduce yourselves and your scholar, then we'll start with what your hopes are coming in the year before we move to fears.
Hi, I'm Madeline, Alexandria's mom.
Good to see you.
Sorry, I'm walking home from work.
Totally okay. And Alexandria is going in
6th grade.
Grade. Okay, great. My years are
Yes.
blending together. Awesome.
It's okay.
Good to
Well, I guess I'll go ahead. Hey, I'm Yolanda. My daughter is Kaylin. She is going into the 8th grade. And like I mentioned, I'm just a little anxious and excited all at the same time.
Not sure if Janelle Crosby's mom can come off mute or not, or Miss Gomez, to just let us know your names. I see you, Miss Gomez. Your scholar is, I see you in the chat, Haley Rivera. And she's going into the 5th grade. Oh, so exciting. Awesome. So let's just start with some hopes. What are the things that you all are hopeful for in this year? And Ms. Gomez, it's totally fine. I see that your microphone's not working. You can type it in the chat and I can share it with people. But just hopes and fears, and anybody can come off and share.
I'm hoping Alexandria would do better at reading. That's always been a struggle for her, and I'm always pushing her to read more. I think that's the biggest, and hoping she overcomes that and starts enjoying reading.
What about you, Yolanda? What are you hopeful for in this 8th grade year?
I am hopeful that Kaylin will have a good year overall. I'm hopeful that all of this virtual learning would help her, so she'll be able to focus more now that she's kind of away from everyone. But at the same time, I'm fearful of how we're going to move forward with this whole virtual thing. I know it should be a little different than what we've previously experienced, so I'm just kind of nervous about going forward.
I dare say you're not alone in those nerves. Ms. Gomez, you're welcome again to type in the chat if you'd like, for any hopes and fears you have for this year. And Maddie, if you want to share some fears, I know your hope about Alexandria and reading, but if there's anything in particular you feel nervous or fearful about
Yeah,
the year.
I the same thing. It was a little hard last year, us going into the whole remote learning thing. I'm hoping it'll be better this year, especially for her because I'm at work and I can't be home to help structure. I took off the first week, so that you guys are going to be going back to school. So I'm hoping that I could help her structure her time as far as being in the classroom, you know, virtually, because that's the thing that I had a lot of trouble with her. She just wanted to do the work and not be present in class remote wise.
Totally. And Ms. Gomez, I see you saying that you're hopeful for new relationships that Haley's going to make in middle school, and the fear is that remote learning is going to be a challenge for the new school year, especially since the learning will be more intense in middle school. Yeah, and I think, Maddie, I know you're walking. I don't want to put you on the spot, but
Yeah.
you're someone who just had a scholar leave 5th grade and made that transition to middle school. Do you have any insights or words of wisdom?
Just being on top of them, making sure they do their homework, their work, you know. Again, it's a little hard for me because I have to be at work. But when I get home, I always make sure I check all the work that she's done, if she's done reading, just being there on top of them and being consistent, like with the stuff that's being taught in the classroom, and just, sorry, the mask is like killing me here. And just being there for the teachers as well, because it takes the two of us to make the student excel. Not to leave the work just to the teacher. We have to do our part as well at home.
Absolutely. And I think, is your, Ms. Gomez, is your daughter coming from the elementary school or from a school outside of Girls Prep? Oh, great, from the LES. So I'm seeing your question here about, will parents get emails with work for the day as well? You're in the same boat where you have to be at work and won't always be able to stay with her while she's on remote learning. Yeah, so a couple of things will happen. Number one, you will be able to get notifications about assignments that are posted in Google Classroom, which will help you just in terms of knowing like what has been assigned, what's coming up, and what might be missing. And so when you'll get information about signing up for the Google Classroom Guardian emails, which you can do right away. And next week, your point of contact, your staff member that is going to be assigned to you and to supporting Haley this year, they will be calling you and can also set up some specific supports and make sure that you get logged on for those Guardian emails.
Well, I have also, are we going to have a point of contact like we had the last school year?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to need that.
Yep, you will. And in fact, when we get back in the main group, I'm going to tell you all about that, and they should be reaching out actually by Friday, so you'll know who they are.
Oh, that's amazing. Great, because Ms. Hogue was awesome last year. She helped me out a lot.
Oh, that's so good to hear.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be swooped to the main room. I'll see you on the other side.
Okay.
No problem.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you were able to get to know some of our community members and share.
I was kicked out of my meeting. How do I go back? I'm so sorry.
No, we're all back together. It's totally fine.
Oh,
okay.
I was like, hold on, I was just talking. Okay.
Everybody was kicked out, girl.
Okay, because I was confused. Like, oh God, okay.
No problem. Okay, Miss Ruiz, take us to the next slide. Awesome. So a guide to reopening public prep. This is just a reminder for everyone that we have posted on our website, publicprep.org, our entire network-wide reopening plan. And so you can access the full plan on the website. Just a note that the plan is going to remain pending any additional guidance or shifts. So it will continue to be updated as we learn more about public health requirements and any updates or shifts that come in the next few weeks. But just so you know, you can access it at any time on the Public Prep website. Next slide, Ms. Ruiz. Just to highlight a few things about our plan. The plan is flexible so that our network can adjust given, as I shared, any new guidelines from either the state, our authorizers, SUNY, the Department of Health, and the DOE. All CDC guidelines will be met when we are making decisions around school reopening. And our reopening plans really honor the commitment that we've made to you all as our families. And it's foundational to all we do to ensure that we are upholding that commitment to providing your scholars with the highest quality education, whether we are remote or whether we are in the building. Even more than that is our commitment to ensuring that your scholars' health and safety, along with the health and safety of our staff, come first in all of our planning. So we know that there are lots of unknowns, but we are striving to be as transparent as possible in our planning. And if you've not been able to attend some of the Public Prep Network-wide town halls, we are sharing the video recordings of those in the Public Prep newsletter that is coming out. So I would highly recommend that you watch those if you were not able to attend, as they go into a lot greater depth about different components of the reopening plan. Ms. Ruiz, go ahead and thank you. So just our pathway back to campus. So phase 1, which begins on Tuesday, August 25th, is all remote. So all scholars start in remote learning, which is beginning on August 25th. Phase 2 is where we will begin our blended option for families. So you should have all received a survey about your preference for remote only versus hybrid learning, where you shared your preference, for trimester 1. At the October 5th is the earliest that Girls Prep will attempt to begin phase 2, which again would be our blended option, where students will have a combination of in-person learning and remote learning. If you chose to keep your scholar in remote learning for trimester 1, they will stay in remote learning even when we move into phase 2. And then phase 3 is when we will do a happy dance on the day that we are able to all eventually be back on campus together. But as we said, or as I said before, health and safety are going to remain the top priority in all of our planning, and we will not move into the next phase unless we are certain that we can keep scholars and staff as safe as possible, and we are following all of the health guidelines that are released. So a focus on a strong start is going to happen next week when we launch Welcome Week. Our primary focus in Welcome Week is to build relationships with your scholars. We know, as Ms. George mentioned at the start, this has been a tough time for a lot of families and a tough time for staff and scholars. And everyone has had, while some similar experiences, also different experiences throughout COVID and throughout remote learning. And we know that in order to most effectively support your scholar academically, we have to build a strong relationship both with your scholar and with you as a family. And our homeschool partnership is going to be key as we enter this new school year. And so next week, another part of Welcome Week is going to include a virtual meet and greet. It used to be a home visit, but we can't come to your home. But your scholar's point of contact, which if you are not new to public prep, you know that means you have one staff member who is your point person for the year, and your scholar's point person for the year. They will be reaching out to schedule that virtual home visit to start establishing that homeschool partnership. We are also committed to ensuring that there is high student engagement in virtual learning. And we have done a lot of work over summer to make sure that our remote teaching and learning is constantly growing and improving, building off of what we learned in the spring when we were building the plane as we were flying. And it's also going to be about building academic habits for our scholars. And so we'll talk in a little while about some tips for developing academic habits in a remote learning space, because we know that that is going to be really critical to scholar success in virtual school. So attendance, it actually was something we were just talking about in my small group, which was that it was challenging for some scholars last year, just in terms of their desire to engage virtually with school. We know that it's something that we have got to work on in terms of establishing the relationships and the engagement with scholars, which again is why Welcome Week is going to be so critical. And so when we think about attendance in the fall, we know that in March through June, we had to pivot really quickly and make those emergency plans for remote learning. And we needed to focus on making sure needs were met, making sure that everyone had access to the basic tech that they were going to need, and that students were safe and students were well. We needed to provide a level of flexibility with synchronous learning because we knew that not all scholars, we were not yet at a one-to-one tech device policy, which I'll talk about more in a moment. So there were a lot of reasons that we needed to provide some flexibility around that attendance. But knowing what we know now and moving into a new school year where we know from the onset we are starting remote and where some of our students could be long-term remote, we really must ensure that not only are we able to provide a strong education, but that scholars are present for synchronous classes and that scholars are present for scheduled small groups. So you will be receiving both the half-day schedule, which we'll talk in a little bit, and your full-day schedule soon. But what I really need you to know is that their attendance in their synchronous classes is not only going to be critical to their learning, but it is going to be required in order for them to be counted present for the day. So that is a shift from March to June, where again, in the midst of the emergency planning, we needed a level of flexibility. Now we know what we're getting into and we can set things up in a way to bring more consistency. So scholars will be required to attend all of their synchronous classes and their scheduled small groups in order to be counted present for the school day. They will also need to complete and submit all assignments and to participate in all assessments. So again, that is a shift, but it is going to be critical to start building the habits and the routines now so that scholars are able to be present and engaged. Next slide, please. Awesome. I'm getting I can't read the whole chat, but I'm getting really jealous as I'm seeing some familiar names and messages pop up. Hi there to everybody that's joining us. So thinking about uniforms. So again, as challenging as that pivot was from March to June when we had to make this shift immediately, one benefit was that we already had relationships in place between scholars and teachers. And we know now that we've got to build that foundation virtually through for all students at the start of the year. And we are going to ask that as we launch a year of remote learning, that scholars are wearing their uniform tops during remote learning. They do not have to wear their uniform bottoms, but they do need to wear their uniform tops. And that's one way to signal that to everyone that this is a school. We are in school. We're a community. We're a connection. We have a connection to each other and we all belong here together. It's also something to help at home really set the this is the start of the school day and there is an end to the school day. one piece of feedback we got from parents a lot last year was that we needed to put in some structures to help create a real school day for scholars and to create some routines. And so again, we've been a uniform school since our inception, and it's an important part of our culture, and something that we are proud of, and something that we are bringing back into remote learning this year. Next slide, please, Ms. Ruiz. So as I mentioned, last year we provided one device per family, and we realized that that was not enough. So we are committed to achieving Tequity for all scholars. Public Prep will have a one-to-one device policy for all students for the entire year. So students in middle school are going to receive standard Chromebooks. And if you have more than one scholar in our school, each scholar gets a Chromebook, not each family. So we want to make sure that if we're saying attendance in synchronous classes is required, that we're also providing you the tools to help make that happen. We're also working with community agencies and organizations to ensure Wi-Fi access. Huge shout out to Joanne Kennedy, who's on our community council. She's been integral in helping get that work off the ground. Clever Badges and EdTech are going to be enabled when those devices are picked up. So your scholar is going to be able to log into all EdTech just using her Clever Badge, which you will receive during Welcome Week next week. And we'll talk a little more about the dates that are coming up, where we will have some webinars to assist families with EdTech, because we know that that is also a learning curve as you're trying to navigate supporting your scholar at home. One thing I will say is if you have a device from last year and it is still working and it is in good shape, you do not need to turn it in and get a new device. And if you have your own device, you are able to have your scholar use their own device. We are encouraging all families to get a Chromebook, because if there are any issues, we can then log into support, which we can't do if your scholar is working on a personal computer. So we are highly encouraging all families to take advantage of this opportunity so that, again, if there are any tech issues or anything happens, we can actually provide a level of remote tech support that we won't be able to do if you're using your own device. Tech distribution schedule. This started today, but it is also happening tomorrow. So we have both a Bronx tech pickup schedule and a Manhattan pickup schedule. So if you are a Bronx resident, and actually, Ms. Ruiz, I know that you are also wizarding the Zoom, but do you mind coming off of mute and just talking about the specifics of tech distribution, since it's under your umbrella?
Yeah, so families should have received a sort of survey or a form to fill out, and you can, if you're a Bronx resident and it's easier for you to get to the Bronx to pick up a device, you can pick the Bronx location, and this is what you should have gotten a follow-up email with telling you what day and time to come. If you're a Lower East Side student, resident, excuse me, you should have been able to come to our location. We did really well today. We had 90 families show up. I heard it went really well. There is another day tomorrow. Please do not fear if you are unable to make it. We are making arrangements to just ensure that your scholar get a device, but we are encouraging families to come on these 2 dates. If you have any questions, just please look for that email. If not, you can always reach out to one of us so that we can get the information that you need as soon as possible. But you basically show up to these locations. Your scholar's name is on a list. You're given a Chromebook with a specific serial number. You also are asked to fill out a tech agreement as well. and then you have the device for the rest of the school year and continuing on if you continue on with us as well. So we do have a device for every single scholar. So please, if you need it, please come get it and reach out to us and we'll get it to you no matter what. Also, I know Ms. Strong did say that we're highly suggesting this so that if there are any tech issues, if you end up not being able to come to pick up a Chromebook, we will still try to help you as best as we can with your own personal device. So don't think that you can't reach out to us, and we can try to figure out how we can help you that way too. It just might not be at the level that we could on a Chromebook that we're giving you.
Thanks, Ms. Ruiz. Awesome. So plans for parent tech education. So on September 2nd and September 9th, we are going to host Chat and Choose from 5 to 6 that are going to be really focused on ed tech support. So some of the things that we'll go over in that session, the remote learning schedule, making sure that you know how students are accessing classes. They're going to learn with their teachers next week in Welcome Week, but we want to be able to provide that same level of support for you so that you can support scholars at home if needed. Also, Google Classroom and assignment submission. PowerSchool. One thing to note is we are going to be using PowerSchool this year as our official grade book, as we've done in years past. So next week, again, you'll receive your PowerSchool login information, and I am hopeful that there are a lot of happy parents on the line about that. Last year, we got a lot of feedback about, I just want to be able to log into PowerSchool. I want to be able to see the assignments. And so we will provide some tech support for families who might need some help navigating PowerSchool. We'll also have information about News ELA, which is an independent reading platform that we use, and information on the New York Public Library Digital Library Access. Try to say that 5 times fast. We want to make sure that our scholars have access to plenty of independent reading material, because reading is going to be critical to keeping their learning on track and ensuring that they are not falling behind. Next slide, please. Awesome. Miss Lopez, would you mind coming off mute and just talking to us about Welcome Week? I know her phone was on the downward spiral with batteries, so I'm going to go ahead and hop in. But Ms. Lopez, if you get back on, feel free to jump in. So next week, starting on August 25th, it's our first day of school. Again, it is Welcome Week. We will be hosting virtual meet and greets. So again, that's going to be like your virtual home visit. You will be receiving those phone calls from teachers. We are also going to have grade level Chat and Choose. So there will be an opportunity for all 5th grade families to come together with the 5th grade team of teachers. 6th grade families, 7th and 8th, so that you can not only get to know your scholars' teachers, but ask really grade level specific questions. The scholar schedule, just one thing to note, it is half days for scholars. So scholars are going to log on, and from 9 to 9:30, they are going to have morning advisory or a Unity meeting. We're really excited to start next week with Unity meetings across all grade levels. They will have a little bit of a break. Then they will log on for a welcome activity. We're really excited. Our grade teams have been creating awesome get to know you activities and community building activities, along with lessons to support your scholar with tech, both Zoom and Google Classroom. And then from, ooh, that looks a little funny, from 10:15 to 12, sorry, my numbers blurred together, scholars will have independent work time. The school day officially ends. They are highly encouraged to start their independent reading. They can practice with the ed tech tools that they are going to learn about next week. But the school day will officially end for scholars so that staff can be doing their virtual home visits between 10:15 and 12. So again, that is when we're going to be setting up with your points of contact, your first family meetings of the week or of the year. Next slide, please.
I'm here when you need me, Ms. Strong.
Great.
You want me to do this?
You want to? Yes, amazing. Thank you.
Great. All right. So I see in the chat, people are asking, when am I going to get my POCs? When am I going to find out what advisory I'm in? I am glad that you are enthusiastic about this because it is coming very, 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 very soon. By Monday afternoon, you'll receive a Kindle text message or an email from your scholar's point of contact. They're going to tell you what advisory you're in or your scholar's in this year. They're going to send you the schedule for Welcome Week next week with the Zoom links in it. So it'll be a PDF. You just have to click on the Zoom links. And you'll get some information on the grade level chat and choose. So that's what we're doing this year, is trying to get you as much FaceTime with staff as possible, but to make up for the lack of hugs and hellos that we are giving in the building. So next week, each individual grade team is going to have their own chat and chew where you can ask grade specific questions like 7th grade, Miss McCalla, what are we doing with like their student portfolios? What is that? 8th graders, Miss McCalla, what does applications look like this year? How are they going to do like not standardized testing, specialized school testing, like all of those questions that you may have for grade specific students and grade specific teachers. You will have 2 opportunities to join us at 11 a.m. on one specific day for a grade. You see it up here, or at 5 p.m. for that specific grade. Ms. Strong and I will also be there and present for any kind of like announcements that come up from now until then, because trust me, things change every day. But just look forward to that text message or that email, and there will be a special little surprise from your POC and from your entire grade team. So you will be getting something more than just an email and a text message.
Awesome. And what you can also see on this slide, if you just, thanks, are the grade level chat and chew days and times. So 5th grade is happening on Tuesday. We'll be offering 2 time frames, 11 to 12 and then 5 to 6. Those are going to be the 2 time frames we offer for every grade. So Tuesdays is going to be offered Tuesdays will be 5th grade, Wednesday 6th, Thursday 7th, and Friday 8th. So just go ahead and take note of those days and times now, but you will receive more information from your POC to make sure that you are able to attend. Awesome. So just want to again kind of go over what the flow of this phase 1 is going to look like. So from August 31st, to September 10th, that's when our full days for scholars begin remotely. So again, next week, Welcome Week, half days, culture building, relationship building, get to know your points of contact, chat and choose. Starting August 31st, scholars will have full days remotely. However, half of that day is going to be synchronous, meaning live classes, all before noon. Half of the day, so after noon, they are going to have asynchronous classes. So they're going to have independent work, and they will potentially have, if they receive a mandated service, they will potentially have a small group in the afternoon, but largely the afternoons are just going to be asynchronous instruction. September 14th to October 2nd. That is going to be when we start more of our full synchronous day with Scholar. It says here mix of synchronous and asynchronous because we know that sitting on Zoom for multiple classes back to back is challenging. It's challenging for me as an adult to do it with meetings. And so we are going to ensure that there is time for scholars to work independently and off camera throughout the day so that they are not going 60 minutes live on camera back to back to back. So we are going to structure our lessons to make sure that that balance is there and so that your scholars can get work accomplished. The goal is that they're able to finish at least the majority of what they need to do in that time period and aren't then doing homework and work all night long. So again, September 14th to October 2nd, it's full days for scholars with live classes in every content area. But again, we are going to balance asynchronous, so like off-camera independent work time with live class time. Wednesday afternoons, Wednesdays are going to look different, and you're going to get your full schedule in the coming weeks so that you know exactly what this is going to look like for your scholar when we get to September 14th. But Wednesday afternoons are all going to be asynchronous, similar to how in the regular school year, Wednesdays are early release and we use them for professional development. We're going to mimic that structure with Wednesdays being a day for small group time and office hours in the morning synchronous, and then asynchronous work in the afternoon. So you can continue to expect Wednesdays to be kind of what we would consider like an early release day throughout the week. October 5th, again, is the earliest that we would attempt hybrid learning. Next slide, please. Remote learning school supplies. We had a lot of people asking about this. We are coming together, we are putting together remote learning supplies kits for all families. It's in the works. So you can hold off right now on purchasing everything that was on the supplies list until we start hybrid learning. Again, more to come about distribution, but we are putting together supply kits right now so that we can ensure all families and all scholars have the supplies they need at home to be successful in remote learning. In the meantime, for next week and the first 2 weeks of remote learning, you should ensure that your scholar has 1 or 2 notebooks and pencils so that they can use those during their remote classes. But again, hold off. You can hold off. If you've already purchased the supplies on the supply list, great, you'll need them eventually. But if you have not, you can hold off until we get into hybrid learning, and you will receive more information about a supply kit in the coming weeks. Awesome. So tips for remote learning success, because it's right around the corner. I know that it's Wednesday. We've got less than a week. Start the earlier bedtime and wake up time now. I know I put this weekend because when I wrote this in my head, it was Friday. It's not Friday, it's Wednesday. Start it now. We need to start building those habits and ensuring that our preteens and teens nocturnal habits they develop over summer start to reverse. Have them get up in the morning and make sure that they're starting to go to bed early so that we can make sure they are logged on time on Tuesday. We are expecting all scholars to be there. We would love to have 100% attendance when we log in for morning advisory. Also, determine where in the house your scholar is going to set up for virtual school. Ideally, it is not in her bed, right? We are wanting to set the routines and the habits that if we are in remote learning for a long haul, we want school to feel like school. And it's hard to do that if they're set up in their bed. So we highly recommend that scholars are out of their bed in a quiet place, ideally away from the television or other distractions. We also know the reality is you might have more than one kid at home doing remote learning, and that might not be possible, and that's okay. But go ahead and think about where she's gonna set up, if it's the kitchen counter, if it is a desk space, if it is a living room space, but go ahead and get that organized. And we'd also recommend that when you get your scholar's schedule, 2, write it down and post it somewhere that is visible. You might do that on a whiteboard. You might just do it on a piece of paper and tack it up somewhere. But make sure that she can see her schedule and that it is somewhere in a place that's an easy reminder. If you're super tech savvy and your scholar's tech savvy, you can also have her use her Google Calendar to add her class schedule there. Her teachers will be helping her learn to navigate that tool. But the key takeaway is to make sure that her schedule is visible somewhere so that she knows when she needs to log on, and we can make sure she's present in 100% of her classes and small groups. Virtual learning community norms. Ms. Lopez, I'm going to turn it over to you for this one.
Awesome. So these are some norms that were shared out with students, staff, and families last year, but we just want to bring this back with a couple of updates. So during class time, similar to right now, microphone and video. So students are going to remain on mute in class unless they're coming off mute to have a discussion with the staff or teacher. They're coming off to ask or answer questions at the time that a teacher or a staff member is allotting for that. All the classes will be recorded, and we announce that to students. When you are recording the class, you do not see the students on the side. What you see is the material being presented, as you may have seen in one of our recordings before. So I just want to make that very clear for folks. And this year, we are making sure that students are wearing uniform tops during our sessions. They should have their video on. Those are the two things that I want to focus on. Reason being for the uniform shirt, couple of reasons. We want to help you with consistency. And in that sense, I myself will be very transparent. When I work from home and there's a meeting at 8 o'clock, at 7:45, Ms. Lopez is brushing her teeth. And if I don't actually get dressed for this meeting, I will get sleepy throughout the day. It just happens. I don't know what it is. I have to put myself in that mind frame. So that uniform shirt gets us in the focus, number one. Number two, it creates community, right? It gives us that sense of wow, I actually miss wearing my uniform shirt. They don't have to tuck it in at home. So it's all right, y'all. There's nobody telling you tuck in your shirt. You don't have to wear uniform bottoms, but please wear a bottom in case you get up in front of the computer. But that is just something that we want to make sure we message to everyone. Flynn O'Hara is doing orders. It is a little bit delayed, but we are home. So if your shirt shrunk a little bit, that's okay. It might look like a little crop top. Just again, when you stand up, be very mindful, but just being sure that we're out in that uniform shirt. Could be the purple one, could be the white one. And then in terms of the camera, if you need to have your camera off, please have a conversation with the teacher prior. And then the chats and private messages, same way we're doing right now, academic conversations, ask and answer questions. Please be respectful of each other. There's no targeting or bullying behavior allowed. We do have a virtual culture manual that I will be sharing with families via email that sets the expectations and the tones for class. Because we are far from each other, that does not mean that we are unsisterly. We are sisterly all the time, and now more than ever, we need each other and we need to be positive. And just so you know, when the video is recorded, so is the chat. So everything in the chat, even if it's a private message, gets saved and is on us. So that's something that if there is something inappropriate, I will just screenshot and send it over to you because now I have proof of what's happening in class. So we're trying not to do that. We had a really positive remote experience. There were no behaviors during this remote experience, at least none that were brought to me that were any major concerns or flags. So it was great, and I want to continue through with that greatness.
Awesome. And one thing to note about the camera on that we've talked about as a staff is also teaching students how to give themselves a virtual background. We're working on creating kind of a standardized girls prep. It almost looks like a classroom in the background, virtual background. Number one, because we do know that there are other scholars in the house. We're learning. You may have seen my husband walk behind me. What you can't see is my dog trying to chew on my foot. We know that can be distracting to other people too. And so we are working on kind of a standardized virtual background that will teach students how to use so that we can maintain some privacy and also limit the distractions that are behind us. And B, so it also can create as much of a classroom environment as we can virtually. It's really, really important to us that we create as much of a sense of normalcy for our scholars as possible during what is a very abnormal time in history. Mr. Weege, you can hit us with the next. So upcoming campus-based events, wanted to go ahead and share just the topics that are going to come up in our chat and choose really from September through October. We will have weekly Wednesday evening chat and choose from 5 to 6. We're keeping that consistent with what we did in the spring. The first two are going to primarily focus on ed tech support. I'm going to have Ms. McCullough come off in a second just to highlight 2 meetings that she's having in here. But we will also be focusing on or introducing you to our social emotional learning program this year called Ruler. We'll have a session where we help you understand MAP data once your scholar takes the MAP assessment virtually so that you know where they are in reading and math. And then at the end of September, we will talk about reopening updates. That'll be the week before the potential start of hybrid learning. And so we'll focus that chat and chew on updating you on where we stand. We'll also have a chat and chew on understanding student supports in remote learning. So if you have a scholar with an IEP or you have a scholar that just is struggling struggling academically, Ms. Stoller will be here to talk about our approach to student supports in the virtual space. Ms. George will be here to headline. We had an amazing chat and chew with her in the spring where she can provide actionable social emotional support tips and also help us as the adults process what's going on. And then at the end of October, we'll have a session to help you access report cards when we have our first report cards coming out. You'll also be getting Friday principal video messages. My YouTube career is really going to go off the charts, I think, this year. You know, we had to have a talk about that one time last year when I got a thumbs down on my video, and we really had to unpack that as a community to figure out what was going on. I'm glad we determined it must have been an accident. Thank you. I think, Yolanda, you determined that, and I appreciate it. We'll share those video messages via Canvo and Facebook. And then next week, we're going to have those Welcome Week Unity meetings. And we really encourage you to join if you can. We know that you're working and you may not be able to, but we would love to have you join your scholar in our first Unity meetings as a part of Welcome Week. You're going to go ahead and just let Ms. McCullough come right on off mute if she's still here, because she's going to host a 7th and 8th grade meeting. Ms. McCullough, if you're here and want to put a plug in, please do.
Hello, yes, sorry. I was in traveling when I was supposed to update my slides, so I did not get to. But I will be holding a 7th grade mandatory high school meeting. It's something that I do at the beginning of the year to prep families for the expectations for 7th grade. As everything is coming in, I will update families about what are some of the things that high schools are looking for, what students need to be working on, portfolios for students who are interested in art, drama, and dance that they should be working on for 7th grade year, and what subjects should they really be focusing on if they know their major. In terms of 8th grade year, I know I was only able to have the 7th graders for like, I want to say a trimester and a half. So they've already started the process of what it looks like with the high school, but I will review everything with them. I will go over everything with you guys about what's changing for high school in terms of the components that they're looking at, because that will be changing. As, for example, we don't have state test scores because we didn't have state tests. So what will high schools be looking at in replacements of that?
Wait.
Okay. And just kind of talking about the types of high schools that are the best fits for your students. And we'll go through everything high school related, and like end of the school year, we'll talk about like how do we prepare for the transition from middle to high school. And for 7th grade families, I'll talk to you about outside programs that I will nominate your students from. But once we have that meeting, I'll go into detail with everything.
Awesome. Thanks, Ms. McCullough. Mr. Weeze, you can hit the next slide. Yep. So actually, Ms. Ruiz, will you go one more ahead? I think that the Unity meeting dates got moved. I just want to make sure that people see those. So again, next week events, Unity meetings. It is going to be from 9 to 9:30. Go ahead and jot it down if you can. 5th grade is going to be on Tuesday, 6th grade Wednesday, 7th grade Thursday, 8th grade Friday. We tried to keep it easy. You just need to remember one day because the chat and choose and the Unity meeting for your scholars grade are on the same day. So if you're a 5th grade parent, you will have 3 opportunities to connect with the school and with her teachers on Tuesday. 6th grade Wednesday, 7th grade Thursday, 8th grade Friday. And if you want to go back, we'll turn it over to Ms. Cyrus to just tell us briefly some things about after school for parents who are interested.
Hi, everyone. It's good to see some of you on here. Just to briefly tell you all about after school, we will be starting remote programming on Monday, September 14th. And it's gonna kind of sort of be the same schedule, but we are switching up some things for the scholars this year. And then we'll be moving to the hybrid programming on Monday, October 5th, according to those who have selected to be in the building as well. We are still taking DYCD applications. Some of you should have received an email from me back in June, but I will be sending out another email with the PDF file for the application attached. And if you have any questions before I send out the application, please feel free to email me. I will drop my email address here in the chat box. Once the applications are submitted, they will be sent over to Ms. Baker, but we are trying to work on our end to get easier copy for you, so that way you can just fill it out online and it goes straight through DYCD and we just get it from there. Once we have that electronic copy, we will inform you, but in the meantime, we will send that over to you all in an email. Please, please, please send your applications back to us as soon as possible. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Cyrus. It was incredible to see. It's always incredible to see what scholars produce in after school, but Ms. Cyrus and her team worked so hard last year to ensure that they didn't miss a beat in going to remote after school. So shout out to your team and thank you for sharing that info. So just couple reminders to close us out before we go into Q&A. I know we're a little over on time. I apologize, but there will be some open space. I'm happy to stay on later to answer any questions that didn't get addressed in the chat. But Public Prep family newsletters are new this year. We're trying to streamline communication systems. We heard from you last year that you were getting school messages, network messages, all the messages, and it felt a little overwhelming at times. So one way we're trying to streamline that is that we're sending out a network-wide family newsletter every Thursday at 3 p.m. So all of our reopening updates, information about town halls, they will all be included in those Thursday newsletters that you should be receiving via email. You'll also get a text message reminder that the newsletter has gone out. You'll be receiving those text messages from both the network and from our school via Kinvo. You do not have to download an app. You do not have to do anything. If your phone number is in our system in PowerSchool, if you shared that with us, you should be receiving these text messages. If you are not, please go ahead and just put your name in the chat. What it means is that we do not have the correct phone number in our system to make sure that you're getting those text messages. So if you haven't gotten one, please put your name in the chat so that we can follow up with you and make sure that we get that taken care of.
Sorry, Ms. Strong, actually it'll be much easier for my team. I'm gonna pop an email address into the chat. If you can send that to that email address so that we can quickly get that done, because we are doing a lot of work tomorrow and just ensuring that we have all the right information. So I'm just gonna pop an email into the chat right now. And if you could please just send a quick email with your name, your scholar's name, and the correct number that Kinvo message needs to go to, we'll be able to get that updated tomorrow.
Brilliant. Thank you, Ms. Ruiz. We'd also encourage you to join our Community Council Facebook page so that you can get updates there. And then if you have specific questions about reopening, our safety plans, you can also always reach out to support@publicprep.org. So with that, we are going to go into a Q&A session. Staff members, I know that we are over on time, and if you need to log out, please feel free. If you can hang back and help answer questions, that's great. But if you have to go, I understand, and I truly appreciate you taking this additional hour out of your day to join us today. So I see that Samara Carbon's mom has got a raised hand. Ms. Carbon, do you want to come off mute and ask a question?
Hi, yes, Ms. Strong. Can you hear me?
Sure can. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. And just FYI, it's Miss Fleming, but that's okay. I get it all the time. I have a question pertaining to the medical forms. I know the last time I was on one of the chats, it was said that these forms are being required, and it brought to my attention because I had received a request for medical forms on some other avenue, and they were telling me that, you know, if you can't reach out to your doctors, I mean, I'm having such a hard time. My daughter's doctor is a part of Montefiore, and I've reached out to the, you know, to the pediatric office. I've tried to reach the doctor personally. We can't get a hold of anybody. Are these forms being required for those who are 100% remote at this time? Because it's hard to get a hold of anybody, and I'm quite sure reaching out to the urgent cares, just going anywhere in person is, you know, quite an issue.
Sure, Ms. Ruiz, I'll let you come off and answer this one if you can.
Yes, so we are aware that it is becoming hard for parents to get the physical form and immunizations out to us. It is very important that we get this information as soon as possible, but we do understand it's very hard. So if when you do get an appointment, you at least share that information with us, that would be great. But we really do need these forms just to ensure that everybody is well and we have the correct documentation on file, just to ensure that we're holding everyone to the same standard. So if you at least get, like, let's say we've reached the deadline and you still haven't had your appointment, if you can at least give us an appointment, then we can go from there and figure out what we need to do. But for parents who are 100% remote, that is, you of course will have more time, but we are still asking you for that information because we are being asked to have that by the state on file. So it's just really important for us to get that. So again, if you don't have an appointment by the deadline that we're gonna set, that is fine, but we just need to know that, and we need to know when that appointment's going to be, if it's gonna be after the deadline.
Thanks, Ms. Ruiz.
Thank you.
I saw another raised hand, but then it went away. Yes, all right. I see a Miss Tavares, 6th grade.
So my question is, what about the early drop-off applications? How can we go about that? So when they started school for October.
Yeah, so early morning drop-off is something that we know is really critical for a lot of our families, but is something that in hybrid learning, we are not going to be able to fully offer in the same way that we've been able to in the past, particularly because of the safety precautions and the screening that takes place when students arrive, and also keeping students in their pods so that we can limit their interaction with other students. And so if you are a parent that feels as though that is going to cause a major problem, I would ask that you reach out to the email that Ms. Ruiz put in the chat so that we can touch base with you individually. But we are not going to be able to offer it in the way we have in the past, with an application process and kind of an open call for all parents. Again, because of the safety protocols that are going to be in place upon arrival for students at school. If you have a scholar in the elementary school, what I will say is that we are working to ensure that our start times, so our start time in middle school is 8:30, as we know. Our elementary school will be starting a little bit later than they typically do, so there won't be as much of a gap between the elementary start time and the middle for those of you who are bringing students to both. But again, please reach out individually so that we can help problem solve. But unfortunately, it's not something we're going to be able to offer on a large scale like we have in years past, at least at the start of hybrid learning. Looks like I've got Yolanda, Miss Yolanda in 8th grade. I know you're not in 8th grade, but Kaylin is, with a hand up if you want to come off mute.
I don't look like I belong in the 8th grade. Now, I have a question about the uniforms. It was a kind of a late announcement that uniforms will be required for virtual learning. So will we have a grace period, a grace time to allow families to purchase or get their uniforms out?
Absolutely. If you if you are not going to have them for the start of next week, just let your POC know. Obviously, our goal would be to have all scholars with their uniforms as early as possible, but we do know that if you have to order new ones, that there may be a lag time. So we will absolutely work with you on that. We would still ask, obviously, that scholars are up and dressed in a plain t-shirt, like we would ask if they were waiting on uniforms at school too. But definitely there can be some wiggle room there if you need to order them and don't have them in time.
And I do have one more question, I'm sorry. I know you mentioned you guys will be using PowerSchool again. So are we going back to the normal grading scale for all courses, classes?
Yes, we are. We are going back to our normal grading policy. It will not be pass, high pass, did not meet. It will be our typical grading policy standard scale. And teachers will be sending out those grade breakdowns in those first weeks of school. Awesome. I did see a message come up to me in the chat about lockers. First of all, hi, Leilani Tanko, if you can hear me. Can't wait to see ya.
Say hi.
So good to see you. Ms. Ruiz, do you want to come off mute and give people an update on the plan for getting scholar belongings out of lockers?
Yeah, so we actually are going through all lockers, putting them in the kids' belongings in large Ziploc bags and labeling these bags. My team will be reaching out to families. Once we get remote learning started and everyone good to go, we'll start reaching out to families, just letting them know, hey, we're ready. We're going to make an appointment. You cannot come into the building yet. We are not allowed to let families in, but we'll have you sign up for a time to come pick it up, and we'll hand it over to you. So don't fear, we will send information to you all when we're ready for that, but we are going through lockers, putting personal belongings in large Ziploc bags with your scholar's name on it, and we'll be setting up appointments for you to come pick up your scholar's belongings. You won't be able to come inside, but we'll be able to open the door, say hello, and hand off whatever you need, and we'll actually have you sign something electronically just to prove that you picked it up in that for your child, so that we could just keep record of who's come and who hasn't, and we'll reach out to those that we still have belongings for at the end of however long that takes.
Thank you.
Oh, no problem. I saw Jamie Freeman with a raised hand. If you want to come off mute.
Yes, hi. My name is Jamie Freeman. I'm the parent of Autumn Dunn. She is a first-time student at your school. She's entering the 5th grade.
Yay!
So my question is, I didn't choose between 100% remote learning or hybrid yet because I was still, undecisive. What happens then?
Sure. So when you make the choice, so if you haven't made it yet, what's going to happen is our ops team is going to reach out, try to get you by phone just to talk to you about the different options so that we can make a determination at least for trimester 1, because that's going to help us in our planning just in terms of knowing how many students we can expect where. But the choice is only for a trimester. So October 5th being the earliest start to hybrid learning, there are only a few weeks after October 5th to the end of trimester 1. So if you chose hybrid learning and you wanted to change your choice, you could do so at the trimester. Similarly, if you chose remote only learning in trimester 1, and then you realize after hybrid learning has started that you'd like to change that choice, you'll have the opportunity to change at the change in the trimester. So again, our ops team will be reaching out. If they have not already, then please email at that email address Mr. Ruiz dropped in the chat so that we can have that conversation and help you make the call for trimester 1, knowing that again, you'll be able to shift that decision by trimester if something changes.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Tell your scholar we're excited to have her at Girls Prep.
Thank you.
All right, families, I'm not seeing any other hands up in the chat. Staff members, if there was anything specifically that came up in the chat in terms of questions or a trend that you just want to surface to see if we can get an answer, please do so. Otherwise, we will get ready to wrap this up. I do see one question coming through about services for students with an IEP. Ms. Stoller, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am here. I couldn't unmute.
Awesome. The question just says, like, how are we going to handle services for students with an IEP? If you can just speak kind of generally to that, that'd be great.
Yep, so in terms of the academic programs, we will be coming up similarly what we did in the spring with assigning small group supports, even for those students that just have ICT mandates as part of just supplementing the program. In terms of related services, they will be through teletherapy again this year. I have been finalizing things with the agencies over this past week, so they will hopefully, as long as we get all the transmittals in on time, so we're waiting for the agencies to let me know, they could be reaching out as early as next week to start scheduling that. And they will work with you and the families and then alongside our school schedule to ensure that they're getting their sessions in. So be on the lookout. It could start as early as next week or even the week of the 31st. So it just depends on how fast we get the transmittals in. If there's anything else, let me know.
Thank you, Ms. Stoller. Staff members, anything else that you've seen in the chat that we should respond to before we close out?
There's just one comment about going into school because it's, harder to learn from home. We totally understand. And so we are working on supporting the kids, especially as we're starting remote, and it's going to be 100% remote until at least October 5th. So we definitely will be providing additional supports, figuring out ways that we can even more some differentiated lessons and materials through the Google Classroom. And a lot of resources that we've used in the past have actually created virtual resources available to teachers. So we will be doing our best to make sure that those are all provided to the girls as they need them. And then once we are able to get back in the building, we'll start full swing with getting everything back in place.
And one of our biggest priorities will be getting small group instruction up and running as quickly as possible, because we know that is critical for scholars with IEPs and for scholars without IEPs, being able to get that tailored support. And so again, in our schedule, which you'll be receiving in the coming weeks, you will see that Wednesdays are really focused all on small groups and office hours for all students. And if your scholar gets mandated services and mandated small groups, they will be receiving those throughout the week. There is an intervention and enrichment block that is going to be built into our virtual schedule daily, so that we can ensure that all scholars are getting that tailored small group instruction to help them to best meet their needs in a virtual space. So families, we have loved seeing you, and we appreciate you hanging in all the way to the end with us. If there was something that we did not get to, or a question that comes up after this, please don't hesitate to email us. You can always use the email Ms. Ruiz put in the chat, and our amazing operations team can get that message to whoever needs it. You can think of it as like our main office number right now. They will put you through to whatever team member can help address your concern. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We will be back together again next week. Again, as a reminder, there will be opportunities for grade level chat and choose next week, with the focus on meeting your scholars teachers. And then we will be back on schedule for our Wednesday evening chat and choose on September 2nd. We're not doing the Wednesday night chat and choose next week because we're doing 2 grade level chat and choose per day, every day. But we'll be back to our whole family chat and choose on September 2nd. So thank you again. We are so excited to see your scholars even virtually. We will be even more excited when we get to see them in person. It is the only thing that keeps us going, is knowing that we are doing it for the greatest kids in the entire world. So thank you for trusting us with the people that are most important to you. We know that you make a choice to be at Girls Prep. You could make a choice to send your student to a lot of places, and it's a responsibility that we take very, very seriously. And we are committed to being your partners in this work through the good and the bad and the messy and the stressful and all the feelings. And I know Ms. George is co-signing me somewhere on that. So have a wonderful evening, families. We will talk to you again soon. We'll post this video online if you need to refer back to it. And we'll see you again in a couple weeks.